Mikir, and thank you so much for being a guest today on our show.
Yeah, hello.
Hi.
It's been a while, so it's been fantastic. It's been
Been a while
fantastic to see you both
between
again.
And welcome to Mauritius, because you don't live here. We
No.
just need to say this. But
Yeah. Would you be able to introduce yourself for our listeners? Because I'm sure they would love to know what it is you do.
Yeah, sure. Look, I'm a Kenyan. I studied in the UK, and hence I have the accent I have. Trained to become an actuary, but then I went into investment banking because the life of an actuary didn't suit me personally, and obviously that's how I got to know Rishi.
we were colleagues in
yes,
London,
Yeah, exactly.
on the same floor.
Literally, I guess not too far from each other.
Yes.
So we had a great time then, and then Rishi came back to Mauritius. I actually left investment banking and went back into insurance as well, and that was a really interesting time because you could then take the skills of being an investment banker, and I was doing quite a lot in Africa at the time, particularly at Barclays when Barclays owned ABSA. And taking that skill set and then moving it back into insurance was quite exciting. And
I've seen that you have quite a passion for Africa.
Yeah.
How did that come about? Is it because of where you were born, or?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, I was born in Kenya. Most of my family still live in Kenya, so I go back as often as I can. And then I have this fundamental view that only Africans can really develop Africa. So I'm very passionate about the fact that we should be able to encourage investment and de-risk that investment into Africa, so Africa can develop, and we can realise its full potential. Now, the important part here is, as a reinsurer, we can do that because we have the balance sheet, we have the skill set to de-risk this investment. So it's something that we're very passionate about. We focus on that massively.
And so now you're the CEO of ASR
Yeah.
Reinsurance. Do you want to tell us a bit about how that happened?
Sure. Well, Africa Specialty Risks is actually, we have a reinsurer in Mauritius, an MGA, which is the insurance manager in Mauritius as well, and our holding companies in Mauritius. We have an insurance manager license in London, and we have another reinsurer in Bermuda as well. So we set all of this up. In the process of setting all of that up, actually, was it late 2020. We got our reinsurance license on the 31st of December 2020. It was brilliant. Our first policy was written on the 15th of February 2021, and it's been an interesting journey. There were 8 people. There are now 78.
Okay.
So we've had a great journey. In Mauritius itself, we've moved offices already because we outgrew our first office. I have to say, even our second office is now quite full. So we are looking to expand into the next space as well. We have 24 people now in Mauritius. Be about 28 at the end of May. So I think that makes us the largest reinsurer on the island in a couple of years. So I think we've progressed really well.
Fabulous.
Wonderful.
And we've de-risked around $11.4 billion of risk across Africa in that period, in 47 countries.
And you have, you were saying you had offices in different parts of Africa. You already have in Dubai, you have in Kenya.
Yeah, so we have in Kenya already. We're opening in Morocco because we just got our license. So we're in that final stages of it. We've got the office space, we're just recruiting there right now. We will be in South Africa, and before the year end, we'll have our office in Dubai as well. And then we've just got Nigeria and Cote d'Ivoire to do next year.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So, Mikir, I've known you for a very long time. And one thing that's struck me with you, about you, is that there's always this smile on your face, whether it's at the pub, drink in your hand, or whether it's at 3 a.m. in the office and still cranking away doing financial modeling of Solvency II for an insurance company. What's your secret? What drives that happiness that you have?
Look, I think we have to enjoy what we do. So I enjoy having a drink in the pub with my friends, so that's always a happy occasion. And then I also enjoy the work I do as well. And Rishi, we used to work very long hours. And often it's not because you're forced to do it. We were doing it because we wanted to do it. We wanted to make a difference. We wanted to help companies grow. We wanted to help them create value. And that's why we're doing it. So that was the exciting part. Can we make this work, or can we not make this work? And in general, I think I'm a happy person anyway. I wake up happy. And if I do get upset, you get upset for the reason that you get upset, but then you move on. That should not spread or cause contagion to anything else in your life.
Yeah.
So I think that's an important way of thinking about things. And when we were in banking, Rishi, we saw very, very different personalities. But it's important that we keep our own personality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Are there any techniques that you use to keep your coolness or happiness, or it just comes naturally to you?
So look, I wake up happy. I enjoy what I do. When investment banking wasn't right for us, both of us,
Yeah.
you came back to Mauritius and you set up Dukesbridge. I left and I actually created the first AXA Africa business. I created that as well. And that's something I had a whole passion for. Again, it was the development of Africa that was key.
Yeah.
And that's what we wanted to do then.
Okay. So finding purpose, something which is meaningful,
Absolutely.
that drives happiness.
Yeah, and obviously being out of your comfort zone helps. And I'm always one of these people who likes to be out of his comfort zone.
We'll
So
talk
I
about
love that.
comfort zone.
Yeah, well, we'll talk about that in a bit. Okay,
Yes.
yeah. So I quite enjoy the fact that we're making a difference.
Yeah.
Yeah, and when you wake up and you know you're doing something that's going to make a difference, you're always going to feel happy. Doesn't mean that you don't have the challenges, because you do have challenges. It's how you overcome them.
And as the CEO, do you feel it's important for you to set the tone of happiness for your company, or?
Absolutely. Look, I'd like to think that people see I'm happy, they're happy. But I also know from the other side, if you're working with clients and they can see you have a happy collegiate team, they see it, they feel it, they're happier themselves. And they then put more trust and more faith in you as a result. So it's important to have that. And it shows. Sort of an unhappy place shows and a happy place shows. We all like to work with happy people. So that's where the business goes.
And it's contagious.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like happiness attracts happiness. So
Absolutely.
if you have a happy team and this is what you put in front of a client, the client want that.
Exactly.
I want that happiness. Yeah.
Well, that's exactly how we've grown so quickly.
Right.
We attract the right people. In Mauritius, to grow from nothing or one person at the start of 21 to have 28 by the end of May. We'll have well over 30 by the end of the year. We are attracting really good quality talent. It's because of what we are, where we're growing, how we're growing, but also the culture we have. And the culture is really important.
Yeah. On that, you work in insurance, well, worse, reinsurance. So I guess some of our listeners might be like, oh, that's a bit dry. Maybe there's this misconception that it's a bit dry in terms of what you actually do. But I don't see your team, like I've met some of your team, and you guys get along so well. Like you were just mentioning, it kind of feeds off that. How do you guys keep so buoyant?
Well, we're making a difference. So what is it that we do? We are providing insurance so that people can invest in Africa without having to worry about the government doing something to their investment, or the exchange rate or them not being able to take the money back out, be it dividends or be it profits. We then provide the cover for things like political violence or terrorism. So in case something bad happens, we can protect that asset as well. We can help the insurance on the construction of complicated buildings. We provide the sort of liability covers. We provide the kidnap and ransom covers should they be in an area that's slightly more risky. So we provide a full range of covers, and we also provide some very innovative covers for Africa. So you call it reinsurance, we call it reinsurance, but we can make a real difference. A classic example is in December we launched the first Mozambique cyclone cover just before Freddie came. And let's be honest, Freddie was the most high energy storm ever recorded. And not only did it come into Mozambique once, it came twice. But luckily they had the cover. And literally we'll be paying out in the next few weeks on that cover. And we led that. And that makes a difference. So that means the government can rebuild the infrastructure that was sort of impacted by the storms. And life can start to get back to normal again. And we've already seen other governments really interested in the way we structured that. Obviously we couldn't take all the risk ourselves, but we led everything. So, with us we had, ironically, my old firm, AXA, Hanover Re, and a few others as well who joined us to provide that cover.
And so the ability to do something new, different, pioneer, innovate, that drives people's happiness in your organization.
Absolutely. I mean, we're creating the right products to help Africa develop. And Africa is different to Europe. So you have to think about what's needed for Africa. And we really work on that. And that is stretching. And that is sometimes difficult. And that does take people out of their comfort zone. But that's a good thing.
So I want to talk to you about your background. Obviously, before you became CEO, you were in investment banking, and even now CEO of a large reinsurer, global reinsurance company. I mean, people would probably associate that to success, you know, lots of dollars and glamour, maybe. There's an element of truth to that. I know there's a lot of hard work as well, but there's an element of truth.
Right, yeah.
In your opinion, based on your background, do you feel that money is the key driver of happiness at work?
Okay, look, money helps, but I wouldn't call it a key driver. I mean, if you remember, Rishi, we were in investment banking together. How much time did we actually have to spend the money? Not much. The reason we were doing it is because we felt we were making a difference.
Yeah.
And I think, again, in what we're doing now within Africa Specialist Risk, you know, it's that success of what we're doing. You know, the difference we're making, how we're making that difference, the fact that actually we're impacting people's lives really is happiness. And the fact that you have a whole team that's actually working together to deliver that. And that actual action of delivery is fantastic. So I remember when we wrote the first $10 million of premium, we had a celebration, the first $20 million of premium. You know, we've written over $150 million of premium since we started. And this year we'll write 150 to 200 at least, again. And so I think what we're doing is making a difference. And we hear that from the clients ourselves.
Okay.
Yeah.
So on that point, I just wanted to ask you this. It's great and easy for people to understand that you're making a difference because you're at the top of the chain, you know, and maybe the team that travel with you and that go on the ground and see how they're actually impacting, you know, the world, they feel good about themselves because they have meaning, they have purpose. But what about those people in your organization that are behind the desk, you know, maybe the one that is answering all the calls, the receptionist, maybe your PA, you know, those people that are, you know, not always at the top. How do you motivate them to see that actually what they do contributes to making that difference?
Okay, so we have a fundamental view within Africa Specialist Risk. We're all one team. Whenever we hire somebody, we ask them one simple question: are you happy to travel? So it's not just the heads that travel. A lot of people travel. We require it. Last year, the team spent over 250 days across the continent of Africa. Forget the travel between London and Mauritius. So for us, it's a fundamental part of what we do. That providing that career path, that interaction, that international exposure, provides the development that you can bring in right from the ground level all the way through. And if you think about at AXA, my first ever employee was my assistant, Nicola.
Right.
She's now in strategy.
Yeah.
So because we're growing, it has that capability of providing that development goals.
Like where you start is not necessarily where you end up.
Absolutely, absolutely. And it's so important to do that because that provides the motivation. It means that individuals are stretched, and then they only realize what they were doing once they've been stretched out of it, once they've been pulled into a new area and they found a new challenge and they've overcome that challenge.
Yeah, it's so good.
Yeah.
Could you talk us through the journey of going from as an employee working for a huge organization, and then you've started something out on your own with, you know, having to be a leader of your own team? What was that like?
Okay, so in investment banking, you were in your own team, actually. You know, you were driving that team, but you weren't always the boss of the team. You know, I remember when I was junior in the team, as Rishi does as well, and then you had to take direction, and you could see some things were wrong. You could see those politics being played. You could see all sorts of stuff happening, and you just think, okay, look, is that good for the client? Is that good for the firm? And often I felt that wasn't the case. But once you're the boss, you can change that for your team. You can't change it for the whole organization. But once you're the boss in that investment banking team, I could change it for that team. Leaving that, and you know, after a while, you know, once you've done, hundreds of deals, you've done hundreds of deals. It's time to push yourself out again and stretch yourself again, which is what I did, rather than stagnate in investment banking. And Rishi's totally right. We could have stayed there. We could have carried on earning more money and carried on doing more deals. But sometimes, from an emotional perspective, you need to have more than that. And that's what drove me to do what I was doing. But even then, my first job outside, my first business I created outside was the AXA Africa business. And we had a nice big office here in Mauritius as well. Whilst I was the CEO of that business, I still had the AXA processes. It's very process driven. You had to do this, this, this. And you think, is that good, again, for morale? Can I actually provide the development I need to provide for everyone I bring into the business? And can I grow this business to be as successful as it possibly can be? And can I help the continent grow as quickly as I can do? So again, that wasn't, even though I was the CEO of the AXA Africa business, it still didn't give me that freedom. Now we've started again. We've done it with the backing of the British government, the IFC, Helios Investment Partners, who are the key backer here, Fairfax, the Canadian government. So we've got very high quality financial backing for what we've created. But what they're really interested in, what they've really been happy about, is how we've built this business, the culture we've built, because they come and have a look, they come and see, and we're very open about that, to the extent that we actually not just write the reinsurances for ourselves, we write them for about 6 or 7 other parties directly. There's another 25 that are supporting us. So there's about 30 global reinsurers, such as a GIC of India, such as a Renaissance Re, Allianz. All of these guys, are there, Arch Re, they're all there helping us develop Africa because they see us as the Africa specialists. And that keeps bringing more and more people. We're just going to announce a large Austrian reinsurer coming to join us in this journey as well.
Australian,
not
okay.
an Australian insurer yet.
Not yet.
Not yet.
We can help you with that.
I'm sure. Yes, I'll be reaching out to QB in due course.
Yes. When you were an employee, or when you were in those corporates, whether it's AXA, whether it was Barclays Investment Bank, I mean, surely you were taking notes because you experienced certain stuff or you witnessed certain stuff, and you're kind of like, well, when I have my business one day, or when I have my own setup, these are things that I don't want to carry with me. Yeah. These are things that I don't want to have replicated. What are some of those things, and how did you actually change them when you had the opportunity to create your own?
The biggest thing was, when you're in a big corporate, it becomes a process. It becomes a set of rules, a set of norms. That's not how we operate. We operate as a team, and a can-do team, and that's the most important thing.
So talk to us about how do you involve the team in that process?
So look, we have regular town halls. We talk to everyone about it. I have an open door policy, so I talk to everyone, and everyone talks to me as well.
So it doesn't matter where you are in the hierarchy of things?
Of course not, no. And that's how people develop. And we have conversation. I take time to listen to what people have to say. Generally speaking, it's because of the organization we have, it's positive things. Oh, can we do this? Can we do that? And you think, yes, why can't we do that? Of course we can do that. There's no process here that's stopping us doing that, because we're a can-do culture. I mean, we spent the whole day yesterday on a strategic offsite where the senior team, there's 20 of us now, went through all our initiatives on how to make a difference for us and for Africa, and what that means, what the impact of that could be. Now, all the team heads were there, and we had a great session, got great actions out of it. They're all volunteering to join streams which are outside of their own product line. And so they are going to be stretched, and they want to do it as well. And then they'll pass on that skill set to the layers below them as well.
So it's not like operating in silos. This is my thing. This is my territory. This is my
No, we don't. No. So this is the thing that I did not like. I didn't like the silos. I didn't like the processes. I didn't like the politics. So all I said is, let's get away with all the negative stuff, then you're left with only positive. So let's keep it that way. And if you're positive and you have a can-do culture, in any business, you're going to have challenges. Not every day is a happy day. But if you have that culture, it's not, oh, how horrible is that? It's, okay, that's happened. Now how do we deal with that?
How do you find that by doing away with the silo structure, that it's helped with the flow of business, or how you operate?
Massively. So everyone works with everybody else. So if you take, I guess, the leading line here to help de-risk investment from outside into Africa. It's political risk and trade credit. As soon as they see a risk that they're de-risking, they'll say, okay, that money is going to be invested and it's going to be used to create a manufacturing facility, for example. So we can do the construction on that. We can do all the other covers. Let's try and work with the client, the insurer or the client directly or through the broker, to make sure that we provide all the covers that are required to make that happen. And that's all about taking out silos. That's all about working together. And we have weekly meetings about this.
And that's great in itself that people want to work together and contribute across different sectors and expertise. But there's also this element of, as an employee, well, what about me? You know, if I don't spend enough time in my area, then maybe my area will not succeed as well. And therefore, my compensation, my bonus, whatever it is directly linked to my performance, my area.
Well, absolutely. But we judge it by a personal performance and a company performance. And the vast majority, I think all of our employees are shareholders.
Okay. They have skin in the game.
So it's one company, and we're all working together to actually make the company successful. And that really drives fantastic skill set and collaboration, because it just takes one person to do something really well and everyone benefits.
Yeah.
You know, it sounds cool the way you're explaining it, but isn't it a bit utopian in a way, because you have 20 leaders come together and all of them want to make a difference and all of them want to contribute into each other's areas. How do you manage that and make it still work without them fighting?
Oh, interesting. They don't actually fight. They may all want to join one work stream, which is the most exciting work stream, like a parametric work stream or a cyber or a portal work stream. But yes, we still have to do the day-to-day insurance, and they still have to deliver on their day-to-day work. And they're happy to do that. And we've had a very good recruitment process. So for us, yes, being able to do the job is important, but equally important is the culture. We're very careful to make sure that we bring in the right culture and that we keep that culture going. Wherever you are in the business, it's one culture.
And did that culture come about through careful cultivation from yourself and your key core team? Or how did you build and how do you maintain a good culture? Like if you get a few people that join in and they are just acting in a way that, we don't do that here. Is everyone quick to jump on it and go, hey guys, this is not how we work here? How is it done?
That's exactly what happens. We're always polite to each other. We're always nice to each other. Doesn't mean you can't have a disagreement. Of course you can, and you will do, and that's healthy as well. So it's how you manage all of that, but you can't be rude, you can't be obnoxious, because you'll get pulled out straight away. You can't say, this is what I do, not what you do. No, that is not acceptable behaviour.
Did you go to the extreme of having company values or culture type slogans around your office to build it, or was it just through emanating that yourselves?
No, we don't have the sort of slogans around the office. No. What we do have is the way we behave. And that's really important. And we have regular get-togethers, many in the pub, and many when we're at conferences. So that's important, and that's how everyone talks to everybody else, and it's really important.
Yeah, that seems really beautiful.
Yeah.
Now, I kind of feel like I know what your answer to this is going to be, but I had it planned as one anyway. But how much of your time as a CEO is spent fielding problematic kind of issues that come up from your staff? How much of your time do you spend sorting out staff issues?
Actually, not staff issues. I haven't actually spent much time sorting out. Look, we've had a very low turnover of staff. There's no one who's left in Mauritius, for example. We've had 2 people in London who left, one because of ill health, one because they got headhunted by somebody else. Actually, no, we did have one person we asked to leave. Unfortunately, he wasn't the right culture. And therefore, that's what happened. But we got that very quickly. Yeah. In terms of issues, it's not really issues. It's really how somebody wants to develop and how we can help them develop. And that's a positive conversation to have. So it's not something that's, you know, a negative. I'm trying to think of actually a negative situation we've come across over last year, and I'm struggling. I'm really struggling.
Right.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, no, that's great. I think you're
Yeah.
one of the very few CEOs that we know who,
Especially with
don't
the
have to go
business
through
in
that.
Mauritius. I
Yeah.
think a lot of our listeners today will be like, so jealous.
But I think
Well, we're
that
recruiting.
but I think that does say something about the culture that you've implemented, because if you get it right from the outset, then probably that does eliminate a lot of those issues that would come with, you know, people who are not coming in with the right attitude or don't share the same culture and passion and purpose in life. But in fact, on that one, culture, you keep coming back to it and say culture is important, and you make sure that the people who join share that culture. Culture for a country, it's very obvious because, you know, people have lived in that country, they've shared, you know, the same values and tradition or whatever. Culture in a community would be the same, the way they dress, the way they cook and eat or whatever. But culture in an organization, especially a brand new organization, which is only 2 years old, how do you even get culture happening?
And don't forget, we launched in COVID.
Yes.
So actually, when we first launched, you know, we were sending laptops and screens and keyboards to people's houses and setting their machines up remotely.
So how do you build culture via Zoom?
Exactly. So that was one of the big issues we had. So as soon as we could get everybody into the office, we did get everybody into the office. But as I said, we were very careful in our recruitment process. Many of the people are actually, the initial set of people were people who I knew for a long time, and I have known for a long time. And that allows you to know that this is the right culture that we're sort of putting together in our organisation. And then it's ensuring that that gets passed on and ensuring that the recruitment process is very clear. We have a good HR manager in Morgan, and she's always ensuring, is that the right culture? Okay. Is that not the right culture? Asking the questions to bring that culture question out, that culture issue out.
Right.
And remember, it's a can-do, collegiate culture that we want to build.
Okay.
Yeah, so because as you're growing a business, you will have hurdles. It's natural. And then how it's really having that culture as to how to get around these issues, how to navigate these issues and be successful.
Yeah.
You touched on something earlier that I just want to draw out a little bit more. You talked about how where someone starts is not where they're going to finish up in your company, that you get them to find challenging ways for them to grow and develop. But a lot of people would probably feel a bit nervous to kind of reach out of their comfort zone. Maybe they're in a job listening today kind of going, oh yeah, but I like my comfort zone. I feel like happy with that. But then if my boss is asking me to do something, oh no, I'm scared. Like what if I fail, or what if I do something and I look like an idiot or whatever? How would you encourage someone who's a little bit nervous to take a step?
Look, if you have a job which is doing the same thing day in, day out, that may be your comfort zone or some people's comfort zones. But after 2 years, after 5 years of that, you are going to stagnate in that place, right? It might be easy, but really if you want to develop and you want to grow, and let's be honest, we spend more of our time at work with work colleagues than we do
anything else.
So
it's
would
really
you say
important.
that it's, sorry to cut you off, would you say that then it is part of happiness, then challenging yourself?
Yes, absolutely, because you only realize you are in that place once you've challenged yourself, you overcome a new challenge, you've done something else, you've stretched yourself into something new, and you think, oh yeah, I did that, but isn't this much more fun? And that's when you find out, when you're looking back, think, oh yeah, of course, I wish I'd done that sooner. And the other advantage we have is we're a growth company. So anyone who joins us knows on day one that they have to be ready for change. And change is something, for me, is natural and I look forward to it. I enjoy it. But for others, maybe not to the same extent, at least they come along at a slightly slower pace than me. That's fine. We're all different. We all have a different way of thinking, and we all move at a different pace. That's okay as well. That's how you build an organization.
And I think you'll find that most people will be thankful and grateful after the event.
That's right, exactly. Yeah.
After they've been challenged
Yeah.
and they've gone through that. And they'll look back and say, oh, I'm glad you challenged me. I'm glad you pushed me.
Yeah.
But I think when you're faced with it, you're kind of caught up in the storm and you feel, oh, I just want to go back to my comfort zone.
Yeah, and it happens, even simple things, like asking somebody to go and present at a conference.
Yep.
Just-
Speak in front of
Just
a
speaking,
few, hundreds.
speaking in front of a few hundreds. That is a stretch for somebody who's already successful. But then once they've done it and they've enjoyed it, they go, oh yes, I've done that. I'm happy to do that again. And I find that exciting. That's what people say, and that's what we've had in our teams.
And I think it's okay for people to also feel nervous and to
course.
fail,
Yes.
and not to get it right the first time right. But I think having the environment to support them in this and say, we believe in you, we think that you can do it.
Yeah.
Stretch yourself, but you're not on your own. You're not going to sink. Your team is behind you. I think that does, contribute to happiness, don't you think?
Oh, absolutely. And on our strategy day yesterday, we were describing 11 strategic initiatives that we're working together on. The team's working together on that. Now we know that all of them aren't going to succeed, but we'll do the hardest we can to make them succeed. And if they don't succeed, they don't. But at least we've tried.
Yep.
Unless you try, you don't know.
Great. Great. What would you say are some of the barriers to happiness at work?
Okay, so that is something we've been really careful about, really thinking in deep ways about that, because the barriers you get is if somebody is not behaving in the right way, or if the business is not moving in the right way. So if somebody's not behaving in the right way, that's simple. You can resolve that. You can take them aside and have a conversation and monitor how that moves. Right? If the business is not moving in the right direction, then that's up to me as the boss to take it in the right direction, or build it somewhere else in a different way to still provide the growth and the opportunities. And Africa is a continent of growth. So we don't have that issue in the same way. So actually it's an easier sort of set of circumstances for me. But barriers to individuals developing, we actually encourage them to take their exams, we encourage them to go out of their comfort zone, we encourage them to go and do training themselves, i.e. provide training to others where they have more knowledge. So for example, we have lunch and learns from all different types of people about a specific topic they want to teach everybody else about. And that imparting sort of knowledge is also rewarding. I mean, you have Dukesbridge, so you know that already.
Yes.
Yeah. I was wondering if there may be someone listening who is in charge of a team. Maybe they're an employee, but they're like in a management level or something. And they might be thinking, oh, all this is great because these guys are the boss of their own companies, they can implement that. But what could I do to change and improve the happiness of my team at work?
You can only do that in your team and the culture in your team. We did this in our own teams in investment banking. So that's what we could do, and we did what we could do.
So you take ownership.
You take ownership, yeah.
About what you can change within your immediate
Exactly.
world.
And unfortunately, some things you can't change, but you have to live within the remit that you have, but make it the best you can.
Yeah.
Because I mean, let's face it, not everything in the job is happy, 100% all the time.
No.
There are some tasks, maybe the overall picture is happy, but there are some tasks that you're just going to have to get your head down and get it done, right?
Absolutely. Look, I hate admin. I still have to do it.
KYCs and
Yes, I really, but you still have to do it. I hate doing the online training courses, which I still have to do for compliance and all of this sort of stuff. Yeah, you remember these, Rishi? But we're in financial services, so we still have to do them. But that's the way life is, and you carry on and you do that. But there's other parts of the job that's fun. Your job is never going to be 100% happiness all the time. You are going to have tougher times. You're going to have slower moments. You're going to have some of the boring tasks that you have to do.
Yeah.
But overall, as long as it's rewarding, you should. That's the big thing.
How do you find the balance between fun and getting the job done? Like having a good laugh with the colleagues, but then getting everyone back on track. What's the balance?
But
like?
you can do that. You can do both of those whilst you're doing the work. But more importantly, when you need to be in a quiet space to focus on the detailed models, sometimes I still build them, Rishi. I will take myself away for those quiet few hours to do that.
I use Excel every day.
So we haven't really evolved that much.
No.
So that's what you do. But in the meantime, but when you're having a laugh, you're also sharing information. You're sharing, and that's a big thing. So I think you have to balance them out. But you know your own responsibilities in the job you're doing. You know your responsibilities in the firm you're in. You know what your responsibilities are about having that firm develop. So as long as you balance all that out, it's fantastic.
If let's say you're in a situation where the team is feeling a bit low, there has been a disappointing news, something that you've maybe pitched for, it went to another company, didn't go to ASR. Like the team is feeling quite low about this. How do you motivate the team?
Okay, look, it happens. Brush yourself, you stand up, brush yourself down and say, okay, what have we learned? Move on. Yeah, and do it again. Just move on. And the quicker you can get another success behind that, then that failure, should we call it that, or I call it the client's wrong decision, shall we say,
Okay.
will disappear.
Yeah. And I mean, in Mauritius, there's a lot of that. And I'm sure globally as well, there's some of that. But in Mauritius, people tend to do the blame game. Okay. So it's like, oh, we didn't win this because this team member didn't pull his or her weight.
Or they know someone from the other company and it was just, we had no chance in the first place or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's take each of those in turn, right? If they know somebody from the company, how come we didn't? How can we be in that place next time around? If they didn't perform, if one team member didn't perform particularly well in the presentation that we did, give them training. Mm-hmm. Let's train them to make sure that they develop so they don't make mistakes. Because nobody does that deliberately. It's done by accident, but let's help alleviate that mistake. So you provide the training, and they're going to feel horrible if it's because of them, they're going to feel horrible. So let's actually move on and provide that way out for them, so the next time they can shine.
Okay. And so some people might think that because you're a happy person, it's difficult for you to confront people and to kind of say, hey, what you did was not right, and this is not our culture, or whatever. How do you still make it work despite your personality, which is very positive?
Well, I think if you remember the investment banking days, it's very, I'm very straightforward. There's no point messing around. If something isn't working, it's better to get it out in the open. The quicker, the better, and the more precise, the better. So exactly, you've called them out for the very specific thing that they shouldn't be doing, and then you say, okay, don't do that again. That's not acceptable, and then you move on. You don't linger on it.
It doesn't sound like you have anyone like this in your company, but say there's a person who just wants to do the bare minimum and just get paid a good wage. And, many companies would be fine with that. Like, yep, this is the type of person that I employ. How do you build a team where that's not the case?
Look, sometimes you're going to get that. Doesn't matter what the firm is, you're going to get that. What happens in our firm is because we're growing so quickly, if they're doing the bare minimum, then people will join around them and be promoted and get bigger pay rises, and they'll watch it all happen very quickly in front of them. And that in itself is a motivator. Yeah, so either they will leave of their own accord, or they'll say, oh no, I want to be that successful. Why? I can do that as well. So that, it helps that we're a new company and we're growing rapidly, but that's how I hope the culture will continue.
Yeah, it sounds like it sort of organically takes care of itself. Like if they go, this isn't for me, I'm just going to quietly exit now, or they decide I want to do that and change.
And if you think we haven't had a single exit in Mauritius of any sort, 100% retention, and they're all growing.
That's really great.
Yeah.
Really great.
Yeah, I have one final question for you. You're growing, obviously Africa is
Yeah, I'm growing sideways as well, unfortunately.
No, I didn't mean that at all. Saying the company, the organization, and that's great. But you're encountering different cultures, different countries, different types of people. How do you make sure that your culture stays the same, your corporate culture stays the same, and being, this happy person that you are, and obviously that permeates across the culture of the organization? Isn't that challenging, the fact that you are growing in the different jurisdiction and making sure that all of this needs to comply with the culture that you've set up?
The culture will change over time. As we hire people from different countries, in different countries, as long as the fundamentals of how they behave and the way they're thinking is right, they will add extra benefit to our culture. That diversity is a positive.
Yeah.
And it will help as we grow, and we will grow. So, we're in Africa, we're just starting in the Middle East, then we'll go to other emerging markets. So that's going to happen, and that's going to be a fantastic. I'm very excited to see what's going to happen in 5 or 6 years' time when we're in far more countries and continents.
Yeah.
On that note, I think we wish you all the very best with growing the company. We've been very impressed with how you've led it so far, and we know that the future is bright. Thanks very much for joining us today.
Thank you. So good to see you again.
Yeah.